Dear Viewer 457, I'm sorry I didn't like the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Please stop egging my house. Sincerely, the Last Angry Geek. Dear Viewer 458, I'm sorry I didn't like the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Please stop egging my house. Sincerely, the Last Angry Geek. Dear Viewer 459, I'm sorry that I had a different opinion, but maybe you were the ones who were wrong. Did you ever think of that? Maybe you were wrong. Dear Viewer 459, I'm sorry I didn't like the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Please stop egging my house. Sincerely, the Last Angry Geek. I'll tell you what I'm afraid of, going against public opinion. Enjoy the show. Please! Hi everyone, welcome back to Comic Book Issues. I'm your host, the Last Angry Geek. We all know that DCNU was a pretty big disaster. However, it's been about 3 years or so, and some of the books have started to stabilize. Swamp Thing remains consistently good, and Justice League United is everything a team book should be. That said, DC has announced a slew of new titles, and many of them star villains. So today we're going to take a look at Sinestro. Though Sinestro was at one time believed to be the greatest of all Green Lanterns. Keeping perfect order in his sector of space, he trained a young rookie named Hal Jordan. Hal discovered that Sinestro kept order by turning his home planet into a police state. The Guardians of the Universe banished him to the antimatter universe of Quard, where he attained a yellow power ring and returned to wreak havoc on the Green Lantern Corps. Hey! Who's that guy with the big head? Jeff Johns revamped Sinestro during his epic run on the Green Lantern. Sinestro formed the Yellow Ring Corps, named after himself, the Sinestro Corps. This corps harnesses fear as their emotional weapon and waged war on the universe. During the DCNU relaunch, Sinestro rejoined the Green Lantern Corps, working in secret with Hal Jordan to investigate the Guardians. This ended with Sinestro seeing his home planet of Korugar destroyed. He regained his yellow power ring and merged with the fear entity Parallax to kill the Guardians before disappearing into space. Aside from a brief return in Forever Evil, Sinestro has been MIA until now. He was portrayed in the the box office bomb that was the Green Lantern movie by Mark Strong. He's been voiced numerous times in cartoons by the likes of John Delancey, Ted Levine, and Ron Perlman. Whenever the Green Lantern appears in a major role, Sinestro will undoubtedly be there to menace him. But what about when he's on his own? What do world-conquering, self-deluded anti-heroes do whenever they aren't menacing the good guys? Let's find out in Sinestro, issues 1 through 3. Issue 1 opens with Sinestro in meditation among the ruins of an alien temple. He's separated himself from Parallax. He's attacked by one of the native fauna. This is not their first time attacking, and they've grown more competent, but they are attacked and killed in turn by a dark cloud, which resolves itself into Lyssa Drac, former Yellow Lantern and keeper of their Book of Lore. She's come to bring him out of exile. The Sinestro Corps and the universe at large needs his leadership. Arkillo, his former second-in-command, is now forging yellow rings by the hundreds. He's gearing the Fear Corps for another war against the Green Lanterns. But Sinestro isn't interested and walks away. Hey, Sinestro! Somebody dropped the coin. Why don't you bend over and pick it up? Sinestro points out that his dedication to the various corps he served ended up getting his lover killed, alienating him from his daughter, Saranac Natu, herself a Green Lantern, and led to his greatest failure, the destruction of Korugar, his home planet. However, Lyssa tells him that there is a religious movement growing throughout the universe, the Paling, a group of shepherds who want to exorcise emotion from this universe. Sinestro doubts her prophecy until she reveals that she was physically bonded with the Book of Parallax, giving her unique insight into the events that affect their core. She further reveals that there are survivors from Korugar, refugees who fled the planet during his rule. However, because they are the same race as the infamous Sinestro, they are persecuted for his sins. He feels fear that his people are dying, and this reactivates his yellow ring. Lyssa touches the ring to her skin, recharging it. She and Sinestro are now mysteriously linked. Lyssa leads them to the Skyriel Nebula, where innocents are placed into stasis pods and sacrificed it to the unknowns of space. They break into the station, demanding to know where the Korugarians are. The station's confused staff ask why their sacrifices didn't please their masters, but they then realize Sinestro is not one of the vicars from the Paling and are quickly tossed into space. Pale vicars? So the villains are British? Makes sense. I never did trust that Bishop of Leicester. Sinestro finds several Korugarians in stasis, but leaves the other species. Lyssa then leads him to the Sinestro Corps' headquarters on a derelict asteroid. They're immediately confronted by Arkillo and dozens of the new recruits. Sinestro predicts failure in their war against the Green Lanterns, but Arkillo disagrees. They've already had their first victory. They've captured a Green Lantern. Saronic. Issue 2 opens aboard the destroyed space station. The vicars from the Paling discover that fear has been used to destroy it and disrupt their tributes. But fear can be traced. Sinestro squares off with Arkillo. Square off? And a rank off! Arkillo, your mama's so ugly, the only piece of jewelry she can wear is a dog collar. No! The founder of the Fear Corps is upset that the Yellow Lanterns have failed to live up to their potential and abandoned the code he set for them. While Arkillo refuses to bow to Sinestro after he abandoned them and rejoined the Green Lanterns, they will not be his mindless followers once more. Sinestro insists the Yellow Lanterns were meant to enforce order through fear. He overwhelms Arkillo while decreeing that the Yellow Lanterns will not start a war for anything as petty as revenge. Beaten, Arkillo yields, and when an insectoid lantern tries to kill Sinestro, he easily murders him. The Yellow Ring tries to find a new master, but Sinestro traps and destroys it. This shocking display of power causes the other lanterns to fall in line, and the Sinestro Corps is reborn. He sends Lyssa to gather certain lanterns to him, while offering to help his daughter. However, Saronic is not having any of it. She wants to know why he wants her, but he insists her abduction was Arkillo's misguided efforts to make a statement. He was trying to solidify his rule by killing the previous leader's daughter. She points out that he started this corps and these psychopaths are his responsibility, which he doesn't debate. He shows her the frozen Korugarians and tells her as a doctor she has to help them. She's certain this is a trick, but no, she can leave whenever she likes. Still, there's one more patient in need of help. In the dark of their infirmary, the beaten Arkillo finds himself being attended to by Saronic. She's a doctor, so she is going to help him, but it might hurt a little. Outside the yellow power battery, which powers the entire Corps, Sinestro and Lyssa meet two human-like Yellow Lanterns. Sinestro wants to refocus the Corps on rescuing the remaining Korugarians. The two Lanterns, Des Trevius, with the intense stare, and Regan Kale, who is obviously a grown-up Carl Grimes from The Walking Dead, acquiesce to his wishes and agree to gather Sinestro's most vocal opponents in the Corps for a special mission. Lyssa warns Sinestro the duo can't be trusted, but he doesn't even trust her. She's still concerned with the approaching threat of anti-emotion, but Sinestro is a long-term planner and knows, at present, he doesn't need loyalty, he needs control. Sinestro leads a group to Necropolis, a prison planet that's been more or less abandoned for the last decade. He's going to move the Corps to its moon, but the planet will be claimed for the Korugarian survivors. They quickly kill the remaining inmates as Sinestro muses that under Arkillo, the Yellow Lanterns are barely more than thugs with rings. Still, there are some who show potential. As for the rest, they're all Sinestro dissidents, and he has Des and Regan kill them. Sinestro leaves Necropolis wondering, will he be remembered as a hero or a tyrant? In issue 3, we find a small group of Yellow Lanterns who have abandoned Sinestro's causes. However, they're set upon by the Paling, who declare that this is the beginning of their holy inquisition against emotion. Funny, the Sinestro Corps doesn't look Jewish.
The Inquisition, what a show, the Inquisition. Here we go, we know you're wishing that we'd go.
Saronic sees the Sinestro Corps is relocating to Necropolis. Sinestro asks about her patients, and she shows him there are more than half a dozen Korugarians now awake. They question why Sinestro has come after them when they left Korugar to escape him. He's momentarily taken aback by the idea that he shouldn't show an interest in his people. He threatens to return them to space and certain death when the group's spokeswoman, Umaral Jarta, reminds him that to them, Sinestro is a monster. He feels unappreciated for his hard work, but Umaral reminds him that this work included seizing control of their planet and turning every Korugarian into an outcast. The only reason they are survivors now is because they fled his rule, but perhaps it is time to start fresh. Sinestro walks out, hoping that the next batch he rescues will show the proper gratitude. Saronic wonders how he can expect any of their people to trust him. She herself is a prisoner here, although he once again rejects that idea as Lyssa returns. She's brought a Green Lantern power battery. Saronic can charge her ring and, if she should choose, leave. But she knows it's a false choice. She doesn't dare leave the future of their people in his hands. She must stay to protect their people. One of the Sinestro Corps questions their new mission of mercy. Arkilla quickly orders him silent. Des mocks their former leader for so quickly rejoining the ranks of Sinestro loyalists. Before they leave, Saronic joins them and Sinestro reminds them that the Green Lanterns are no longer their enemies. On the planet Muz, 4 Korugarian adults and 2 kids are being sold off to collectors in a slaver's market. The bidding reaches 10,000 credits when Sinestro arrives and bids 250. Except he means the 250 or so lives in the market. He'll spare them, but only if the slavers release his people. A fight breaks out, and Sinestro ponders why the Korugarians can't see how much they need him. Still, he's not going to hold their ignorance against them. They'll learn in time. He offers his hand, but the slaves won't take it. Saronic has better results by removing their chains and promising to protect them. It's at this point when the bishops arrive. The Paling is here. And that's the first 3 issues of Sinestro. Evil? Maybe not. Definitely a flawed personality with delusions of grandeur. But is this book worth a read, or should you paint a yellow stripe up and down your back and run? Let's take a closer look. For one thing, Cullen Bunn does an excellent job in establishing this series. He manages to pick and choose which elements of Sinestro's story he wants, and discards the bits that won't work, but never ignores anything to the point where you might feel cheated. Case in point, Parallax. Bunn acknowledges that Sinestro and the Ferengi were bonded the last time we saw them, but since he doesn't want a supremely powerful villain at the heart of this book, he mentions that the two were separated. As I mentioned, Sinestro is a flawed character. He sees himself as a hero. Everything he's done, no matter how horrible, was necessary for the greater good. When others challenge his actions or refuse to see him as the hero he feels he is, he's angered or confused. It seems the defining trait of a post-Jeff Johns Sinestro is an amazing ego, but unlike, say, Lex Luthor, Sinestro's ego is driven not by a need to prove his own superiority, but by a need to be seen as a hero. The tragic flaw is that if he were only a little more humble, he might be that hero that he desperately wants to be. Cullen also reintroduces us to the Sinestro Corps. He brings back Lyssa and Arkilla as supporters. Lyssa because she's seen Sinestro's genuine potential and importance, Arkilla because he's so beaten down by Sinestro that he's unable to stand up to the stronger personality. We're also introduced to Des and Regan. Sinestro makes them his lieutenants, but it's because he believes in keeping one's enemies closer, and these two come across a little too ambitious for him to be at ease. It's the politics within the Sinestro Corps that are going to keep him on his toes. As important to this book as Sinestro himself are the other Korugarians. He clearly expects their admiration and obedience, and when he doesn't get that, he's put in an odd spot. He can't afford to lose any more of his people, so rather than fear and violence, he'll have to find a new way to communicate with them. The Korugarians offer him an opportunity to be good. Whether or not he can follow through is another story. Ultimately, his need to control things will probably bring this all crashing down around him. The most important supporting character is Saronic, his daughter. She's canny enough to see through his attempts to manipulate her, but she can't really fight those manipulations either, since she's as controlled by her desires as he is. To defy him would mean her people suffer. We also see that her rough handling of Arkilla shows a burgeoning mean streak. Like father, like daughter. It'll be interesting to see if she can keep her head above water, as it were. The space settings seem a bit generic at times, but I do like the Paling. There's no uniform look to them, each one is a little bit different. They'll make good enemies for Sinestro and his Corps. For a man who uses fear as a weapon, those who feel nothing are surprisingly invulnerable. As for the art, Dale Eaglesham is excellent, but I've been a fan of his going back to Villains United and his run on Justice Society. He always draws improbably but suitably heroic musculatures on his heroes. My big complaint is that by issue 3 he's already fallen behind. The following issue 4 had a fill-in artist. Why is it when a name artist is associated with a comic book title these days, they can never finish even the first arc of the book? I long for artistic consistency these days. No offense to Rag Morales, who did the fill-in work on issue 3. I should also point out the covers, issue 2's cover being my favorite. The skull in the water has a nice double effect. Is this a skull belonging to the dead hand shining up, or the rippling water distorting Sinestro's own image? It's an amazing piece. The writing is competent and the art is excellent if a bit inconsistent. I give Sinestro issues 1 through 3, 3.5 out of 5 stars. Cullen Bunn is setting things up for a long and interesting run. I really enjoyed this book and can see that it has a lot of potential. But I bet you're wondering, what is the Last Angry Geek afraid of? Nothing. And to prove it, I'm going to put on this Sinestro Corps ring I found in the garbage.
Geek.
Oh!
I can see your greatest fear. Concentrate, and it will become clear.
No! And I'll see you back here at the beginning of September for the new season of You Know Who. Come on! Oh, you know what I'm afraid of? The people will discover my great Patreon page. I've got everything there, from early access to these videos, to your name in the credits, to me reviewing the Doctor Who or comic book story of your choice. Check it out below! Hurry! I don't think I can maintain the link! Ah.